Hello there. I am back on YouTube. I haven't done that many YouTube live streams, so forgive me if yep, says I'm live. Forgive me if I'm a little awkward here. I am working on my attempt to create a writing system for the Zenati Berber languages. Now, I don't speak those languages, and I wouldn't normally assume that I should just go do that. But I got approached by somebody who is a speaker of those languages and said that they don't really have a good writing system. And they thought that it might be possible to build a writing system from the shapes of the old Ligatures Berber writing system that was used in ancient times. And I've taken considerable liberty with those shapes, but I have tried to borrow from them where I could, and then added my own stuff after that. It's fabricated, but I have produced a writing system. I need to do some things here. Just a second. I am on the wrong settings for something on my Stream Deck, and we need to fix that. There, that's better. Let's see. Where's preview? See if it shows up. It does kind of. I'll get rid of that because we don't need it. This is what I've created, what it looks like. I don't need that in behind. I need it off to one side. So we're going to drop that down there. No, we're not. We're just going to have it overlap. No, we're not. What's it gone and done? Preview, there. Okay, so one or the other. This is what it looks like. I've tried to make it a little bit featural to make it easier to learn. And I have tried to make it relatively user-friendly. It's problematic when you're creating a writing system for a language that doesn't exist. There are no language packs for this. So you can't just install a language pack and have your system use it. I've mapped it to an English language keyboard layout called Microsoft Windows 1252 Western ANSI, because that is probably the most compatible choice I could make. It means that anybody who speaks English or who is using an English language keyboard can use this. It could be mapped to other settings. A fair number of the speakers of these Berber languages also speak French because of the French colonial expansion in North Africa. These languages are particular to Eastern Algeria. There are Western Berber languages, but they have the Tifinagh writing system. The Tifinagh apparently doesn't suit this set of languages the same. I'm just going to check something here. Docs. Oh, I should have stats up. Always difficult to see if... Right, it's just me at the moment. I'm used to streaming on Twitch, and well, on Twitch you've got a lot more tools than you do here. So the purpose of this stream is to show the thing off, and also for me to check the settings on everything, just to make sure I haven't screwed stuff up, and make sure that everything is lined up correctly. I am going to be and fix some problems. Hopefully. Fix. Fix. Fix all. Hey. Okay, what does it say there? My font software is very thorough. I think we're going to ignore that test. There. Sometimes the fixes for these things don't fix them. They screw stuff up. Sometimes you just discover that there is a problem that you could have fixed without using the tools, which happens. Most of these should be okay. Well, maybe not. Okay, sure, no problem. I regret that I don't have my text-to-speech option open like I do on Twitch, which is annoying. I don't have a text-to-speech system here, and I would really like to have one. I'm going to ignore those because I don't think they're relevant. How are you doing today? And thank you for showing up. I'm used to Twitch where I'm streaming a game and I get, 10 to 20 people, so there's a lot of interaction there. But on YouTube, although it's discoverable, I am in such a narrow little niche that I don't get the same thing. I don't get the same sort of response. Fix, whatever that is. So how are you doing today? And feel free to ask questions. That is part of why I am here. A large part of why I'm here. I just thought that if I was going to be fixing stuff on this font, I should stream it. And we're ignoring those down there again. Now, I will say I haven't done this font entirely correctly, which is to say that I should be using anchors and all that sort of stuff. And I might do that down the road. But I'm not going to worry about it for now. Let's save. So the lack of text-to-speech thing basically means I'm not going to hear a noise every time you speak, unfortunately. I'll have to try and fix that. Why is that not fixing? It is just not fixing. Okay. These errors are not like super critical. They're just things I know I can address that will make the eventual product a little bit better. There. So we'll go through each glyph, fix any apparent problems, save it, and carry on. I really do appreciate having an audience. It makes a difference to know there's somebody out there. And I don't get the tool to tell me how many people are watching as easily here as I do on Twitch. And yes, I could be streaming this on Twitch. But if I did that, it would kind of conflict with my existing brand, as much as I have a brand, on Twitch. Although I do promote the stuff that I'm doing here on Twitch, so maybe I'm doing that already. And yes, you might think I could just hit fix all, and I could, but when I've done that before, it's had some terrible results sometimes. Because I think these minor little errors, like not being horizontal, can do some weird things when it goes to try and fix them. I don't even know what half these errors are, I will totally admit. On the other hand, I really appreciate the fact that the font software has the ability to point them out to me. So I talked this over with the guy that approached me about it, and he's apparently got a lot of stuff happening right now, so I won't get feedback right away, which is understandable but disappointing because I tend to get focused. Come on, fix. But I do hope over the course of the next month or so that I'll get some feedback on it from people that are trying it out to see what they think of it, and to make sure that it doesn't have any problems displaying the actual languages. I expect it probably does. I don't speak them, so I can't just say, oh, well, I'll just write this out, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know the words or how they're spelled or anything. But I firmly believe that every group that speaks a language, why is that not fixing? Fix. Fix all. Nope, not doing it. Every group that speaks a language, and there are many languages that do not have their own writing system, deserves to have a writing system, if at all possible. It's how you preserve culture. The language, of course, builds a sense of community and stuff like that for speakers. And I think it's terrifically important. And of course, I'm blessedly free of that problem being an English speaker. Although one could argue that English doesn't actually do that good a job of representing the language in some ways because the spelling is so irregular. It's one of the biggest problems people have with learning English is making sense of the spelling, and I understand that. Drives English speakers nuts too. Okay, as someone who watches live streams on YouTube a lot, Twitch seems better. Twitch has got more evolved tools. They're a leader in that sense. But not all of those tools are fantastic. Twitch uses a lot of emotes. People get into the whole emote subculture of inside meaning of things. And honestly, I don't understand all that, and I don't care that much. But it does have better tools for streamers individually. I can have pop-ups that come from my OBS that, oh, I just realized you're on the wrong screen. I'm an idiot. I get better feedback and things like that. And that's good. That's really useful. But it doesn't have discoverability, which is to say that anybody who goes onto YouTube and is interested in conlanging and conscripts or fonts or whatever could do a search and come up with my stream, presumably, depending on how many other similar streams there are. I don't know where I'll appear in the search, but it can appear there. When you go on Twitch, you don't have that tool. They give you the top people. And if XQC has got 50,000 people watching him play Fortnite or something like that, and I have no idea what he streams these days, then that's going to be the top result. And the next result is going to be the person with 28,000, and the next one with 24,000, etc. And I'm going to be right at the bottom. If I'm in a category, like a specific game, then people can go and find the category and discover you, but that's not a very good thing. And Twitch focuses on games, so most of their content is game related, or something called just chatting, which is sort of a cover for absolutely everything else. There isn't anything specific, I think, that I could be streaming on this sort of stuff on there as easily, right? And if I streamed on my regular channel on Twitch, hello, Rad, how you doing? If I streamed on my regular channel on Twitch, then I would be confusing all of the people that follow me for playing games. So I decided to separate it and do the font stuff on YouTube and just learn how to be a YouTube streamer. At the bottom of the screen here, you'll see current font Zenati Regular. That's something I just added today. I thought, well, I should have an overlay on there that tells people something, right? I'll work on more stuff like that and build that up over time. So how you doing today, Rad? Thanks for dropping by. Forgive me while I caffeinate. It's essential. What I am working on here, quick synopsis, is a writing system for the Zenati family of Berber. That's like 6 or 7 languages or more, spoken, in this case, spoken mostly in Eastern Algeria, although there's, I think if you count them all up, something like 9.2 million speakers of the various languages that are closely related. Then there's the Western Berber languages, and they're adequately represented. They have a writing system called ThatFontGuy. I don't particularly like it, but it exists. I was approached on Reddit by a speaker of Shawiya, which is one of the Berber languages from Algeria. This person's a resident in the UK, and they said that there is a pretty strong movement amongst speakers of the Zenati languages, dialects, I don't know exactly how you want to call it, to come up with their own writing system. And he asked me if I would consider, I think it's a he, if I would consider trying my hand at that because they liked one of my conlang scripts that I created. And I said, sure, that sounds fascinating. So what you see here and down here are the glyphs I have created for writing this language. And that's what it looks like when it's written out. I'm abusing Adobe OpenType font scripting and ligatures to join letters together. So what happens here is that is the name for the words for Zenati languages. Tirataznatit. I'm probably saying that wrong. What happens with this is you have, here I will write it out. That's not a graphic, that's my preview of my font. If I write a T, that's T. I want to write an I hit I, and it attaches a glyph for I to the T because I thought that it would be easier for people to distinguish syllables written this way rather than just an individual alphabet. It is really an alphabet, but some of the glyphs join together. So that little hook on the right there is I. This is A, E with 2 lines there, O, and U. Now, you'll note that the vowels all have descenders. I thought that would be a distinction that visually would make things easier to remember too. So I'll make this Tira, so R, A. So you see now that I look at it, my A might be wrong. A. Let me look at A here. It is just a hair short. Put you back on font. Just a hair short in length there. Okay, so now when we go back to preview, I got to keep switching screens back and forth. I'm sorry if I get it wrong. Now when you look at the stem on the A, it is the same distance down as the other vowel there for I. So this writing system will display a consonant And if it has a vowel after it, attach the vowel to it. If it has a diphthong with multiple vowels, it will not. If I made this, what's it done there? Oh, I screwed it up here because I didn't switch windows. If I go over here and make this T-A, I don't even know if that's a thing that can happen in the language, but if I do that, it will just print an A there. And that is actually something I need to check here. Features, compile, preview. No, okay, so that's something I need to fix. But basically consonant plus a vowel. Here's T-A-Z. And then if there's no vowel after it, like an N, it doesn't attach anything. So that's taznatit. Okay, so we have T-A-Z-N-I. The N has that curl up as an ascender. T-A and a final T. Now I have made it a little featural. So this is T-A, but this is D-A. So D is T with the hook on the bottom there to say it's voiced. Similarly, S and Z, TH and DH. Now in this case, you'll note that I type a T, it puts a T in there. I put an H in there, and the scripting switches it to the glyph for TH. And if I type DH, it does the same thing. Let's see. So there is, do I have features up here? Features is not showing features. Just a sec. Why is it doing that? Just a sec. Well, we'll go back to preview and it'll show it. This is the scripting that is in here. These are all part of a ligature, and it determines the way the thing behaves. I wonder what it would look like when it becomes more flowy, like calligraphy. Yeah, okay. This is a prototype for a writing system, so I deliberately made it blocky and heavy and simple. I did put some embellishments in, like the hook at the bottom here and things like that. But basically, I made it very simple. I tried to make it simple so that it's possible for people that are looking at this for the first time, because, I mean, nobody writes this, to judge it without too much fancy stuff on it. I know it has some style to it. I want it to look cohesive and things like that, but that's about it. So my intention is to create this, done that, give it to the person that inspired me by asking me to do this, and they are going to, well, they're planning a wedding right now, so they're a little busy, but in the near future, they're going to take it and send it to speakers of 3 or 4 of the other languages and get feedback from them and play with it themselves and give me feedback. And then I can make a revised version if there's something it doesn't work with. And then I will make some variations on this. It's not a lot of glyphs. So I will make a version that is thinner and perhaps a little more curved than it is and things like that, to try different styles. But to begin with, I wanted to, I'll be silly here, I wanted to see what it would look like as a blocky simple script. Oops. So imagine that on the side of a truck. That says Coca-Cola, right? Does it look like something that you could see as a sign somewhere? When I try and come up with a script like this, that's usually the first thing I try and do is say, okay, how would it look as advertising? How would it look as something on the side of a truck, or a sign over top of a store, or something like that? And then I try stuff just to see how it looks, and I adjust stuff if it doesn't look right to me or it doesn't look distinct enough. So yeah, I want to see what it'll look like when it's more calligraphic, when it's put into italics, a thinner version that's more like typical typing on the computer, all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to start with a simple blocky shape to begin with, basically even proportions, and then I can try it on the written page and see how it looks, see if I need to resize it, things like that. And if it's simple, it's easier to resize. So tira tis natit. Zenati languages. Do you like the look of it? Both of you? Mr. Something? Rad? Anybody else that's out there? I don't know how many people are watching right now. Probably just the two of you. Not even that. It just says me. Maybe you're not there. I also wanted something that didn't look like anything else I'd seen. And it's built on, like the consonants anyway, are built on shapes from Ligatures Berber, the old ancient writing system that they used. I'm just going to check here. I'm going to push a button and see what happens. Yes, there. Okay, so on the left is the Ligatures Berber symbols. They're just for the consonants. On the right is the ancient Tifinagh ones. There is a modern Tifinagh writing system that's come from that, but apparently it doesn't reflect Zenati very well. So this person said, hey, we need something new. So I drew my shapes from these shapes and some other examples that I have. I don't know if I can bring those up or not. Just a sec. How would we do that? Give me a sec here. Let me try to find an image first, and then I'll link to it and see if I can bring it up on screen. Oh, actually, this is just reflecting the main desktop. So I can go to desktop, Ligatures Berber, and bring up which one here? That was Articolo. Well, this is the thing. I think it's this one I want. Just a sec. Here, browser image. But this is some more shapes from Ligatures versus Tifinagh and Ligatures versus Tifinagh here. This has actually been more of my inspiration, this particular one here. I'll close that. What you've created already looks awesome. I can't wait to see a more calligraphic version. Yeah, I want to do those things. But there's no point in producing those if the people that speak the language go, oh my God, that's ugly, or it looks too much like this, or we don't like it, or whatever, right? There's no point in doing all that extra work until people have said, hey, actually, that looks consistent, it looks interesting, it looks distinct, it doesn't look like anything else, and it's based on shapes that we remember, and we would like to consider using it. If that happens, I'll be blown away, to be honest. And then, yeah, I will make more of these. I will make variations on it that are italicized and handwritten and everything else, probably. Or at least different varieties. I mean, I could do a more serif version or something like that. But I want to concentrate on making sure that people like the shapes that I have for the glyphs here to begin with. When that happens, then if people say, yeah, we like it, or, you know, we can't stand the G or the K, or the H is useless because it looks like something else, or it all looks too much like this other writing system that I happen to be unfamiliar with, then I have to make changes. So why have the ripple effect of, oh, I had to change N and now I've got to change it in 4 more versions of the font, right? But I personally, I know I'm sitting very close to it. I personally like the simplicity of this. I think it'll be relatively easy to learn to read. There is a Latin version of writing these languages, which is apparently not all that well liked either. But that's a problem with. It's actually a problem with the way computers are built. They started in the West, and we built them to use the Latin alphabet by default, and then everybody had to adapt their language to suit it. And it still has a very heavy European focus. Obviously, people in China and Japan and Korea can write their own writing systems electronically. But the way they do that is by special rendering engines and methods of input and stuff that are not the same as languages written with the Latin alphabet, where we just type a key and that's it. And I've seen that the tools, what do they call it? CJK, I think, for Chinese, Japanese, Korean. There is a method on phones and on computer and whatnot so that you can build up the characters that you need for any of those languages. And it's baffling to me how it works. I don't know how it works, and I can't build one myself, although I'd love to try. But any other language has to have something done to it to adapt, like to sort of shoehorn itself into the Western system of using an alphabet on computers. Arabic, for instance, has its own rendering engine as well, I believe. And I would love to know how to build those. I would love to know how to build language packs for desktop computers. I would like to know how to put this onto an iPhone or Android phone so people could use it that way, because probably most of the people that speak these languages have a phone as their computer, not a desktop. I don't know how to do those things yet. I want to learn that. But I'm glad you like the look of it. When I come up with a design like this, I'm always sitting too close to it, right? I get working on it and I think, yeah, that looks cool. Oh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks cool. But maybe it doesn't look cool. Maybe it looks blocky and terrible and crude. I mean, this one is intended to be simple and blocky. So if it is that, then I've kind of achieved that goal. But I do want to try other variations on it and see what it looks like. Now, there is a thing called the SIL Open Font License. I am proposing to release this font under the Open Font License. If this becomes the next Cyrillic, you just have to make one for Vietnamese. Yeah, sure. If somebody from Vietnam approaches me and says, make a writing system, and I understand Vietnamese is one of the hardest languages in the world to learn, then sure, I'll tackle that. I did it for another project called Ndebe, which is a writing system for the Igbo language in Nigeria. Another person, a woman that had built a writing system, came on to Reddit Conlangs, and I basically ended up talking to her, and I built a font for her. Now she's got a big effort going. Kudos to her. I built a font for her, and I got to check back because she was adding some more symbols to it, and I haven't checked back with her in a while. But she has a team of people building ways to write that writing system on phones and everything else, and it's quite cool. Because the Igbo speakers are in the same boat. They don't have a good writing system. So I understand Vietnamese has a very complex phonology and is using the Latin alphabet mostly. I think they used to use Chinese, but again, probably not suited to Vietnamese specifically. Just Chinese is a very powerful and influential writing system in Asia. But yeah, sure, maybe it'll become the next Cyrillic. Who knows? I quite honestly, it would be the coolest thing ever to be a part of enabling people to write their language. That would be awesome. And yeah, if this ends up taking off and people love it and it goes and you know, any proportion of 9.2 million Zenati speakers adopt it and use it, I will die a happy man because I helped people out and did it doing something I love doing. And something I'm not trained in. I've taught myself everything that I know here, and I know that I know just a tiny amount, but you can't even see that there, a tiny amount about fonts. This font software is just amazingly complex. The basics are pretty simple. How to draw a glyph and stuff like that. You can pick that up. But all the stuff to do with zones and sizing where, you know, where glyphs are displayed and lining them up and everything, that gets really complex quick. Now, the other problem that we have here is this relies on support for ligatures. So if you go to write using this font in, say, Microsoft Word or OpenOffice, LibreOffice, something like that, you have to make sure that you have fonts turned on. Now, as far as I recall, in LibreOffice and OpenOffice, they are turned on by default. I believe in Microsoft Word, you have to go in and say, add ligature support and turn it on. Otherwise, it will not display correctly. That is because of the features part here. This is a series of statements in here that are checked every time you hit a character, every time you hit the keys. It goes through and says, oh, well, it's the first one here. Did he type C followed by an H? If so, display the CH glyph. Did he type D followed by Z followed by H? Display the DZH glyph, etc. This one in here, these ones in here rather, check to see if the key, the glyph, whichever you want to put it, is the first in the word, in the middle of a word, or the end of the word. And then I can apply rules to what gets displayed. Let's see, I'll show that off. So this is T followed by I. But if I put I followed by T, it will reverse it. It'll reverse the I and it'll display it at the start there. But because the T doesn't have a spot to join it, it won't. If I put in I and B, it will join it together because the shape of the B permits me to join the vowel to the consonant following it. And if I put an A after that, it will join the A on the end there. That is all achieved by the ligature rules that I wrote in the features segment there. This stuff. So when I type the first I, it looks and says, oh, it's isolated. Display the isolated version of the glyph. When I type something after it, that I becomes an initial. Display the initial form of that glyph. When I type an A at the end of IBA, it says, oh, that's a final. Display the final form of that glyph. And that is all determined. Let's see if I can bring up my classes. I cannot. Just a sec. Minimize that. Bring up classes by dragging the window over here. These are the classes. Now, a lot of these symbols don't change based on position. So initially, a B is a B, a C is a C, a D is a D, etc., all the way down. But the vowels have a different version. A in it, I in it, E in it, etc. So when I go into here and scroll down here, we have A init. Oh, you can't see them. My head is in the way. Just a sec. There should be a page for that. Full. There. So if you can see my mouse cursor there, that is A init. So it will draw the A with the join on the right-hand side instead of the left. This is A isolated. So when we go back to here and to here, and I just type in A, we get A isolated. When I follow it with an N, we get A initial and N. When I type an A after it, we get A final. So what's happened here is, back to class, I cheated a bit. If I go to the medial form, the medial classes here, that's all the basic versions of each of the glyphs in this writing system. When I go to initial, that is, classes are just a way to group glyphs together to say, well, there's this bunch of glyphs, say, if I had uppercase letters, all the uppercase letters versus all the lowercase, or all the vowels versus all the consonants, etc. And in fact, I have that here. Here's all the consonants. There's no vowels in there. Here's all the vowels. There's no consonants in there. There's a special class that I'm using in here. These are the ones where the join doesn't happen. So I'm clicking on the wrong things. So when I type in AT, the rule in the features doesn't change the A to join it to the T because there's this gap in here where there'd just be the line and it wouldn't connect. But if I type in B, there is no gap, so it joins it up okay. So the specials group over here is the ones where it does not join. So say V and SH. When we come back over here, if I type in AV, it will not join up because there's no spot for it, or ASH. Oh, actually, SH should not be there. Now I'm confused. Let's try T dot. Yeah. GH. Yeah. So anyway, I've got to look at SH and find out why it's in there. But the idea is that the font is dynamically changing to make it a little bit more readable. That's the idea anyway. Again, I need feedback from people. But I appreciate your thumbs up. That is really weird. Huh. You're evidently there because you're typing. And I will presume Rad is still there because they typed. Maybe they've left. Who knows? But maybe I'm terminally dull. But the tool that I have from OBS for live streaming on YouTube doesn't show me who's participating, which is annoying. Oh, actually, maybe I can bring it up on my phone. There's a thought. Okay. On my phone, it says there's 2 of you. So, hi, 2 of you. How long does it take for that to come up? Doesn't show. Live chat shows there. Anyway, doesn't matter. So what I was doing was going through each of these and fixing errors. And I never got to the bottom ones down here. And it's literally just click on each one and see if the software will fix the problem, basically. Okay. I do need to turn the volume off on the phone. Otherwise, there will be this weird background sound delayed from the microphone. I think fix all will work here just fine. This is just straightening out lines that aren't quite lined up right. This, on the other hand, is not quite the same thing, but most of the fixes are like that. And again, it's because it's blocky, and I chose to make it that way mostly. I'm not fixing the problems down here yet. Now, if you do know anything about fonts, you'll know about anchors probably. And I am not using anchors here. I will produce a version that does that because it'll be of interest later on down the road to have it as straightforward as possible. But right now, this should actually not be just be tacked in there like it is. It should be placed there by an anchor. And then I put a script in that generates all these glyphs down here that are specials. And they get generated automatically from the pieces. And if I fix a problem in the original, it fixes it everywhere else. And that would be the smart thing to do. But like I said, I was prototyping here, so I didn't worry about it. Now, since you're here, are you a conlanger? Do you make your own fonts? Do you have questions about making fonts? I will tell, oh, lots of errors here. I will tell you that for me, the value in making the font is that when I go to write documentation for a constructed language, I can write my language out in its own writing system, and I find that a very powerful way to feel like the language that I'm creating is a real language. I will fix these up here and see what happens. Maybe I'll go back through and fix the other ones. So I have created, oh, I don't know, dozens of fonts so far. Most of them suited to a writing language, a writing system, to be a writing system for a language I have not completely created yet. Which is problematic in its own. I think I'm not going to be able to fix this. It's just going to rotate back and forth between them. Yeah. So that's a problem I actually need to go in and look at down the road. Where are we here? Here. Yeah. We will fix that collectively. But these ones can be addressed. That's mostly just straightening out things that aren't straight. Now, there is also the fact that I actually really enjoy making fonts, which I realize is pretty dry, and most people just take fonts for granted, right? They exist. You use ones you like. Maybe you download one and install it because it's a specific thing you like, but that's about it. Most people don't worry about or think about fonts at all most of the time, I think. And I personally find the ability to create something unique to be really addicting. And luckily for me, I had, oh, that spawned more. I had access to good software and was able to upgrade. Why is that not fixing? Probably because of this here. Empty line. delete that, drag this up to there, zoom back out, irregular stem down here now. Don't know why that won't fix. Probably something isn't quite lined up, but it isn't finding the answer. Save. Another empty line. Again, I've got more lines than I actually need, and that's why. And that is not lined up perfectly. So we highlight that and move it over a pixel. And the same thing here. Highlight that and move it over a pixel or so. And then we have irregular stem here. Can you fix that? You can. Probably by putting it a pixel out of alignment again. And this one will probably have the same problem in reverse. Looks like it. Fix all. Fix. Empty line. So somewhere in here, I was dragging and dropping nodes and changing things, and it didn't work out perfectly. Drop that there, raise it up a pixel or two so it's on the line. The other thing that happens here is that the cut and paste in my font program is often off by a pixel or so. A couple of pixels here, it looks like. I shouldn't use the word pixel. I don't know what the measurements should be called, but of course they're not actually pixels. These are our vector drawings. That I found fascinating, that whenever you type a key on a keyboard and it has to produce a glyph, it does a tiny little vector drawing. So when you look at a page of text online, it has done thousands of little vector drawings like that. Okay. I will ignore sister19lol.online. I don't know what that means. Hello, Slivia Leifler, though. How do you make fonts for writing systems that are not alphabets or simple? Okay. If you want to do that, save. I'll keep talking while I'm fixing these problems, so that's done. The only way that I know how to do it is to very heavily rely on the ligatures thing there that I was showing you earlier in the features files. I will go and give you some examples in a second. Now, that's, how do I want to put it? If you wanted to make, say, a syllabary where the language has the format for a syllable of being either a vowel or a consonant plus a vowel, and that's the only thing that can exist. So, say Japanese. Then you can go, I'll try all. Did that do it? No, it did not. You can go in and create glyphs for each of your syllables and then put in feature entries to make sure that those syllables get displayed. That's probably as clear as mud. Just a sec here. Save. So if I bring up features, and you don't see it because it's in the wrong spot. Preview. Features. Okay. Over here, there are a wide variety of things that you can add. You're not seeing them because we're not seeing the whole screen. Just a sec. Let's go back to font, and I will drag the features window over top. And then you see full screen. I don't want to have it meld in with all the other screens. You can see that there's all sorts of little special things that you can add in there. These are features that can be added to fonts. So you can have small caps or different variations on things. English mostly doesn't have stuff like that. Small caps we have. Sometimes there's some contextual alternatives and things like that. What I'm adding in here are just ligatures. So they go inside a rule here called feature liga. And what the ligatures are is every time you hit a key on your keyboard, or if you were displaying text, every time the computer reads the text for each glyph, it applies these rules. So this one up here says look up diphthongs, which ends right here. And it's any two-character combinations like KW, GW, TH, NG, whatever. I have glyphs for them, and it will substitute, when you type in these keys here, sub C space H by CH, it will substitute any combination of an H after a C by the CH glyph. Down here, we have some other ones in a different lookup, and then we have the stuff that further tweaks the way it's displayed. If you wanted to make a syllabary, the first lookup there would be every combination of, say, B plus A, or B plus E, or B plus I, or O, or U, etc. Substitute that with the glyph that you've created that is representative of that syllable. So, if we go back to preview here, now I'm still in this language here. I don't have a syllabary at hand, I don't think. But if TA was this glyph in a syllabary, then there would be no default glyphs for T and A. But the ligature statement in the features would have a statement in there that says, if you type T and then follow it with an A, display this glyph. If you type T and follow it with an E, display that glyph. T, I, T, O, T, U. Okay? So each of these things would be defined as a separate glyph rather than as a component of it. And then the features file would say, okay, we're going to display that one thing, that one glyph when this combination comes in. Now, if you want to make a logographic system like Chinese uses, or kanji in Japanese, there you have an entire glyph for a word. Now, that isn't strictly true of Chinese because they apparently have the glyph and then a radical assigned to it, I think. And the radical gives you some idea of the pronunciation of the glyph, and the glyph gives you some idea of the meaning associated with it. And neither of them encodes the tone, apparently. Now, I don't read or write Mandarin or anything like that, So that's a bit of a brain puzzle for me. I think that's how it works. If I was going to do that, the only way I can do it would be to have a features entry for every single glyph that I made. So if I was creating a language like Mandarin, for a civilization that has weapons strong enough to destroy an entire planet, we do rely on ligatures to make fonts a bit too much, from my experience and knowledge. Well, like I said, with Mandarin or Korean, with the Hangul, or Japanese with any of their systems there, they have tools that allow them to pick the pieces and assemble the glyph before drawing it. But that's a special rendering engine called, I think, CJK for Korean, Japanese, sorry, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Or maybe it's CKJ, I don't know. That is built into computer software and built into font somehow, and I don't know how that works. Unfortunately, I'm going to drag the preview window back over to where it goes, and I will try loading up one of my other fonts just to see if I can find one that illustrates this stuff better. Recent fonts. Nothing recent. Open installed fonts. I don't know what I have installed or don't have installed of mine. One neat thing about font development when you have the font software here is you can load up other people's fonts and see how they did things. Here is Derbesh outline. Now, in this case, if we go back over to preview, this is still using initial final stuff, but it is displaying different things. So in this case, when I type D, it gives me the D glyph with that little flowery thing on the bottom there. But that's an isolated version of it. When I type a vowel like E, it displays a different version of D and tacks E fina underneath it. If that was DI, it would look like this. If it was DO, it would look like that. If it was DU, it would look like that, etc. So that's not a syllabary. But you can see that I generated a fair number of glyphs for it. And I like this one. It looks kind of fancy, but it's an outline font too, so it's sort of guaranteed to look a little fancy. We will close Derbesh and this particular page of that one. Let's see what else we've got. Open installed fonts. See if we have Gardeners. Oh, you were joking about Cyrillic. This Evropiana font that I created here is very, to me, very Cyrillic looking. This was, for want of a lack of another name, because it was inspired by shapes from European fonts. This is one called Evropiana. I didn't have a conlang for this in mind at all. I just got fancy and built some shapes I liked. And it's got some neat glyphs and stuff in there. It's got some combined So that would be KWITHA. So the KW has a joined glyph here. That is the K joined to a W. I, T with a triangle over it. The diacritic indicates that it's an affricate or fricative. And A. Again, just an earlier effort on my part. Let's see what else I've got here. I'm trying to think if I've got a syllabary in here, and I don't think I do, but I'm not sure. I've designed an awful lot of different writing systems. And I need to find a syllabary of mine specifically, because that will be one that uses ligatures. Unfortunately, my system has a whackload of fonts installed. No, that's not evolved enough to even bother. Okay, I don't think this counts as a syllabary. It's a writing system as well, but I'm particularly happy with this one. This is called New Demotic. Here it is. And it has a lot of glyphs. Oh, it does have some syllable stuff in it, so the features file would be relevant. What this was basically me looking at ancient Egyptian hieratic and demotic writing and wondering what it might look like if it had survived to the modern day. So with this, let's see. What this does, that's Abydos. This, in some cases, but not all of them, will stack the glyphs. So that should be DO there. If I wipe that out and just type in D, you get D. If I make add an O to it, it will replace it with changed versions of the glyphs to let it stack. So the whole thing stacks. And it kind of looks Egyptian. And I managed to figure this out. Let me see if I can figure it out. You can do cartouches. I wrote some code that lets you put a square bracket at the start of something, type it, and when you end it with a square bracket, it will join the lines all the way across there so that it appears like that. And then the rest of the text just looks like whatever you type in, right? I'm very happy with that one. But we were talking about the features file. When I go to the features, oh no, okay, no, this won't help either. I had a hard drive crash. I lost a pile of stuff. And this is the font loaded from my system from when I restored it. So it does not have the regular stuff in there. So that won't do. Let me close that one and go see if I can find a rebuilt version of it. I probably just haven't reinstalled it. Open fonts. Conlangs folder. Nope. Oh dear. Document. Oh, that's a storage drive. See. No, that won't do it there. Documents. Conlangs. There we go. Do we have New Demotic in here? Nope, I haven't redone it. There is a logo syllabary design I was using in an earlier video, but it's crap. Okay. Storage drive. New demotic VFC. See if we can open that. We can. Okay, now when we go to the features file and look, you will see that I have put some glyphs in as if they were hieroglyphics, but I've done it by typing stuff in. So let's go to preview here. If you type in stuff in all caps, oh, it puts the glyphs around it there. Oh, probably needs to be compiled. Just a sec. Features. Compile. -house. Should do it. There. So I created, what happens if you do it lowercase? Nothing. Okay, that's a weakness in there. I have to figure that out. There are some pre-made glyphs that I put in here. -God versus -God. See what happens there. Maybe I was just partway through doing it. -God gives you that glyph. -God gives it, okay. So double hyphen gives it to you with the cartouche lines above and below for use in that, and a single hyphen gives it to you without that. So this is like a reinterpreted version of the hieroglyph that used to be used as a determiner for god names, right? And there's probably one for goddess as well. Yes, an egg shape. So I put stuff like that in there, and that is the only way I could see of doing a logography, would be that you would have to code it to the actual conlang that you're producing. Personally, I wouldn't want to try it, but it could be done. Now, you said if you ever have time, you could make a new version of the Glagolitic alphabet. I like Glagolitic, but does it need a new version? You mean a simplified version or something? I've seen it before and I kind of liked it. I did, don't know if we have it here or not, just a sec. Where is my file folder? Did I close it? I did. Rats. Just a sec here. E drive. Files from the iMac where everything crashed. Conscripts. Karakitai. Do we have the actual? No, I'd have to rebuild that too. We can open this though to give you the shapes. Oh no, that's to install it. Sorry. I want to open Karakitai, so I want to go back up to here and go File, Open, Open Fonts, and Conscript Karakitai, version 1, I guess. Oh yeah, version 1. This is an Asian script that I built because, no, you're not seeing it. We're on the wrong config profile there too. Just a sec. I can't hit my buttons. That's not good. There we go. 3 monitors. Okay, we want to get off Twitch Standard on the Stream Deck and go to FontLab Studio 7. There. Okay. So this is Karakitai. And what happened is that the Mongols, for I think a couple of hundred years, maybe 300 years, adopted a writing system from China and adapted it for use with the Mongol language, called Kitai. I think it was called Kitai. And we can partially decipher it. We don't have all of it. So I came across a font for it that was open source, so I could play with it. And I created Katakita, sorry, which was means something in Mongol. I can't remember what. I think it was like Western Mongols or something like that. And where we didn't know what a glyph was, I filled it in. So I made my own version of it, basically. And I don't know if no, because it's a font, I would have to rebuild all this stuff again. But the idea is, just a second here. Why is this doing that? Ah, okay. Let's see if this works. There. So, not original. Borrowed the font because somebody else created it. And it is something that was used in the real world, but I've filled in the gaps to make it a conscript writing system. And I actually quite like the look of it. I've always admired the way the various forms of Chinese writing work. But this is a sort of adaptation like that, where I've taken it and adapted it so that I could use it if I wanted to do like world building stuff or something like that, and I would have a viable font in the right style and everything. I have tried to create logographic systems before, and well, failed to do so to my own satisfaction is an understatement. It's very hard. It's very hard to create a logographic system that doesn't look like Chinese or Mayan or Egyptian or something else that exists already, something with its own original art. And I have seen people do that, but it's really difficult. They have my admiration. The glagolitic alphabet could be simpler and more functional. In case you don't know, it was made for all Slavic languages, but it was an abjad, and by the time the Greeks invented vowels, it wasn't used. Oh dear, no, I did not know that. Yeah, I am, no offense to anybody who uses them, not very big on abjads and abogidas and things like that, because, well, okay, I don't speak a Semitic style language where you can get away with that. I can see how that would not work very well for Slavic, any of the Slavic languages. Я говорю очень плохо по-русски. Where the vowels kind of matter, and I don't think you can just readily substitute them in the same way that you can with a triconsonant root language. Which, circling back to what I'm doing, is one of the things that Berber is. It's another Afro-Asiatic family of languages related to Semitic. It uses 3 consonants as the core and everything else like that. So it actually is suited to it. But what I ended up building was much easier to manage, I think. And I think an alphabet would be easier to learn. Anyway, that's Karakitai, and it's not a good example for showing off the scripting stuff there because it is not a syllabary. If I go back to new demotic and go to features, it should have, yeah, see, here, this is sub MA by MA, sub ME by ME, sub MI by MI, etc. All the possible syllabic glyphs are defined there. Then we have digraphs that are pairs of consonants, and that's all defined in there. So if I go in here to preview, and instead of having karakitai there, k.r, it will let you write Egyptian more or less the way you could in hieratic and demotic. I called this new demotic, but it actually owes more to the shapes of hieratic, if I'm going to be honest. I used both to try and figure out what shapes to put in there. So I could type in K-A-R-A, and it would put them both in there. But if I just wanted to type in K.R, it will stack them. You got to put a dot between it because otherwise you get K with R after it like that. Huh, that's a little odd. I'll have to look at that. Looks like there's two forms of R. Try it with some other combination. S.P. No, P is bad because it's full size. S.T. There. That's kind of ugly. S.N. S.N. S-A-N-A. At least it's consistent. The S and the N are the same. There's a different variation for when it's vertical, but I knew that part. So yes, I should take a look at glagolitic again. And yeah, I could probably, rewrite it to make it more functional. Sure. I find all this stuff fascinating. Excuse me. Oh, while I'm at it, I will take a look and see if open fonts, documents, conscripts, Ashwadi. Nope, that one's not going to be there. Asiana. Oh, here's one that I built that should be a syllabary, I think. Maybe not. One of the first ones I ever created was called Asiana. And you're on preview, right? It was intended to, how do I want to put this fairly? To look like an Asian writing system from the perspective of somebody who knows absolutely bugger all about Asian writing systems. So if you were playing D&D and you wanted to make maps with some writing on it and you wanted to be able to keep it straight, then you could use Asiana for it. But, oh, hello, actual Kevin and Peggy. Hello to Peggy. I am not all awake, despite the coffee. So, Asiana. What this does is stack stuff as well under some circumstances. And if we go to the previews, we'll see if, the features. There is all sorts of statements in here that are just basic sub-statements. This is, like I said, one of the first fonts I ever produced. And it was quite neat because some world-building artist out there took it and did a pile of rendered art, like pop cans with labels on it and stuff like that, using this. And they turned out really well. So this is another one where all of the glyphs that I've produced are defined individually. Like this is F with a long U defined individually. And then in the scripting, it goes and basically redirects you. If you type in FUU, you should get that symbol there, which I can try to make sure it's working. Yes. So this is sort of Asianish. One thing I did do was try and go through the phonology of Mandarin, Korean, and Japanese, and make sure that, to the best of my understanding of the phonology of those languages, that you could type stuff in using this system in those languages. So if I put in Tokyo, it will put in T-U-T-O-K-Y-O. Hangul, it will display Hangul. Glyphs for each of those. But I'm never going to improve on the Hangul. But rad, yes. That is, what's the phrase? The golden ring or whatever. Yes, I would love to be able to do something the way the Korean alphabet groups syllables. I really admire the way the Hangul works. It's supposed to be one of the quickest writing systems you can ever learn to read, like learn to read it in 20 minutes. Korean is completely different. The language is difficult, but the writing system is supposed to be pretty good. And it was deliberately designed to be featural and everything else. It's very clever. It is very hard to do that. Amongst other things, it's very hard to do that without it looking like you're trying to just copy elements of Korean. That's what happens here with this one. It has shapes out of Korean and is nowhere near as elegant. But yes, I'm eventually going to work my way out to figuring that out. But I haven't gotten that far yet by any stretch. And it's really complex to figure out how to do that sort of thing using ligatures. When people type stuff in Korean on their phone or on the computer, there is a rendering engine behind the scenes that takes each of the elements that they type in, excuse me, and arranges it to the right location, the way it should be in Hangul. I don't have access to that rendering engine. I don't know how it works. I could try creating a font that is encoded to be Korean and then change the glyphs. But yes. You want to know the curious thing about Unicode? There's nothing there. Unicode is this massive collection of locations for stuff to go. And they have shapes that are the ideals that are defined in Unicode and stuff like that. But if you go to load all that stuff up, there's nothing really there. Any font that supports Korean has been created using the Unicode locations, in all probability, and mapping it all and doing all the neat stuff there with all the shapes that are defined as part of the Unicode standard. But it's not using art from Unicode. Google has a font. I can't remember what it's called. Font project. Why can't I think of the name? They have one where they're actually hiring people to create a default version of those fonts, so that if you load up the Google project version of it, there is something there. But it surprised the hell out of me when I realized that about Unicode, that it's like those old mail slots that they used to have in the post office back in like the 1900 or 1880s or something like that, where there's a whole pile of boxes on the wall and they all have names on them. And when somebody's mail comes in, it got slid in the slot. Unicode is like that. It's a pile of boxes. And they define, there's going to be from this address to this address for all of these glyphs, and here's what's supposed to go there, and here's the shape that the Unicode people said is going to be encoded in there. But you can't just go download Unicode and grab those shapes. It's just this abstract of definitions of locations where a thing is supposed to be. One of the other ones that was going to load up here was my Egyptian one, but I think it's probably screwed up too. This PC, C drive, no, documents, conlangs. Do we have it there? We do not. E drive. Do not have your hard drive crash on you so that you lose everything. Because it's really friggin' painful. Can we load up a VFB? Hopefully we can. We can. Okay, this is Egyptian hieroglyphics. Making a Korean font is extremely hard, I'm sure. I haven't tried. Oh, S Grant 42. Hello, how you doing? Unicode is like a phone book. It's a bunch of addresses. And it's that far from being a map. So Korean will have, like Rad said, all of the combinations. So many spots defined, reserved as hex addresses for Korean glyphs. But inside of Unicode itself, there's nothing there, just the spaces. When somebody goes to build a font and they want to support Korean and they want to put in the A symbol, whatever Korean uses for an A, then they will add support for that into their font, and they will go draw a glyph there that looks like the A. But that puts it in their font. It doesn't have anything to do with Unicode, except Unicode said, oh, well, this particular glyph should have a Unicode address of 00ED4 or something like that. It's really kind of wild. And people spend years trying to get reserved space for a writing system in Unicode before Unicode the Unicode consortium will approve it. And there's these huge studies that are done and papers that are produced, and people get put in charge of the project, and they can spend 10 years trying to come up with the standard, the way it should be defined by Unicode, and away you go. Noto, Google's Noto font and their system is, and kudos to them, is actually going and hiring somebody to build a font for each of the things that's defined in Unicode. Basically, yes, Unicode is one massive pad of sheets of graph paper with each one has a hex address and a thing that's supposed to appear there when you go to make a font. It's really kind of wild. So back to this one here. I've had lots of fun doing this. It is absolutely massive. It's the biggest font I've ever produced. And it's incomplete. I have to add, I think, 4,800 more glyphs to it. And my brain just said, no, can't do that. I'm brain dead. And I did not create the glyphs. They are from public domain. Here is an example of one. I can't even say what it stands for, but look at all of the drawing that was done here to produce this shape of a man kneeling with his hands up. But Gardner was a guy who wrote a book on, the manual for the longest time on learning Egyptian grammar. I've got a copy of it. And so the purpose of this font here was to give people a way to write everything that is in Gardner's Egyptian grammar without having to use special software. Right now, if somebody wants to write Egyptian hieroglyphics, they load up special programs that will build up the artwork and then export an image to their document of the stuff. Whereas this here will just do it. But I don't necessarily remember how you do it. Yeah, it's not quite working here. I mean, it's drawing the glyphs, but it's not stacking them the way I thought it would. Nope, that puts the cartouche marks over top, so that's probably here too. Nope. Yes, it is. Unicode is just huge. But this is failing to illustrate the feature that I wanted to give. Okay, so you can see the features code here, which just goes on and on and on. Let me see. What the hell I've done in here? Maybe that's it. Preview. I have manuals of documentation written on this stuff. Nope. So, okay, it's embarrassing to not remember how it works. I'd have to read my own documentation. But this, okay, let me show you here. Again, the guy, full size. Then, no, wrong one. Then there is a version of him in the bottom left-hand corner, a version of him in the top, and might not be the same one. No, it's a different one there, bottom left, etc. I built a system into this font where you can type in the right key combinations and it will let you stack the hieroglyphics the way the Egyptians did, including up to stacking 3 of them, one on top of each other. And it's all fairly complex, and you'd have to be a student of Egyptian hieroglyphics in order to use it. But those little miniature versions of the main glyph, I got halfway through generating 9,600 of those or something like that. And then I had to stop. I just couldn't do it anymore. You can see some of the doubled ones in here, but there's a very clever system of stacking things. I'm really proud of it, and I don't remember how it works, but I did build it, and it's mostly done. It's cutting and pasting the smaller versions of the main glyphs and shrinking them down and putting them in the right location that defeated me, and I stopped working on it basically. That's not the best illustration either. Suffice it to say that, Mr. Something, if you want to go build a logographic system, I haven't done it to my satisfaction yet. I had a system that would build glyphs together like the Mayans did, but I broke down on doing all the artwork because drawing it all on screen is really difficult. You can ask a Fonty question, Actual Kevin. Actual Kevin is a very, very old friend of mine. As in, we've been friends a long time. He's no older than I am, but not much. Or yet younger or whatever, or about the same age. What's your Fonty question? either you're typing very slowly or you've fallen off of YouTube. I got a beef with YouTube here, or at least with OBS. When I see the chat here, I can't see how many people there are. I have to look at my phone, and it tells me there's 4 people. If I was going to teach people how to do what I do here, what would you do? Well, the first thing is I would make a video, very short, on picking font software you can use. And I have much of that finished, but not edited. Then I would explain the basics. And I can do that in 30 seconds here by going, welcome, new font, because I don't want to screw up my existing one, and putting you on the right screen. So I've just hit File, New Font, and I go up here to Encoding, and I scroll down to MS Windows 1252 Western ANSI, because I think that has the best compatibility with any software out there. And then I turn off the Zenati Regular thing because we're not doing that right now, and I left that on the entire time. And I will switch the columns to, say, 12, so they're nice and big, and go pick lowercase a. So this is a grid with, is there a lot of latency happening? It doesn't show up here. I'm not showing any dropped frames or anything. Nothing. Unlike my Twitch streams, which have had terrible drop frames. The stats window here is just pulled up a stat saying, my disk will be full in approximately 365 hours, 25 minutes. Good to know, but probably not a factor. I don't think I'm going to be on that long. Okay, so when you look at a font, it has all of these slots with nothing in them. When I go to my A, there is nothing here. If I wanted to draw a very simple blocky A shape, I would go through and, where is the 0 line? It's not showing it there. There. Go from, say, here to here to here to here. So this is a vector drawing like you would have in Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape. And the snap to is not very good. So I end up adjusting a lot of this stuff manually. That needs to go left one. This needs to go to the right a little bit. You can do it all with the arrow keys. There are other ways to do it, but that would do for now. Now, obviously, that doesn't have the hole in there. I can use the square or rectangle tool and drag that so that we have that there. Oh, you're not seeing it. Dozy, are you? You are seeing it. Okay, now you'll note that that is not a hollow square. That is currently a vector-based rectangle inside of this other shape. What I have to do is go and highlight one of these points here and say reverse contour. So when you draw a glyph, it has a direction that it's drawn. And somewhere on here, there will be a tiny little arrow, which probably isn't visible on camera, that indicates the direction it's going. I don't even see it here. When you draw a shape inside of another shape, you have to draw it to go in the opposite direction, and then the font will display it like that. So if we go back over to preview, and I hit the lowercase a key, we get that shape. Now, the other thing to note is This is like your high school math graphs. This is the zero line here vertically. This is the zero line horizontally. Anything of your glyph that goes to the left of the zero line will actually be drawn in the space of the previous glyph, if there is one. Anything drawn to the right of this line over here, you can see my cursor, but I don't know if you can see the thing here. This is spacing. If I put this at 2 grid squares away from the edge of this glyph, anything that was drawn to the right of that particular line there will appear in the space for the next glyph. So that's the two things to note there horizontally, is it has to be to the right of the zero line or it'll overlap the previous one, and to the left of the right side bearing, it's called here, or it will overlap the next one. Now, not shown on screen here, and I have absolutely no idea why. Let me move my tools window. Nope, not showing. My font software drives me up the wall sometimes because it just changes its behavior seemingly randomly. There is a descender line down below here. I'm not sure how far down because it's not showing the numbers. And there is an ascender line. And then there is the what's called the X line. This is all based on Latin stuff. So the X line is the height of a lowercase letter, like say A, lowercase a. The ascender is the maximum height that an uppercase character or something like L or T that extends above the X line can go, or it won't be displayed. The descender is how far down a glyph can go, like say the stem down on a lowercase p, before it won't be displayed. The font software will just chop it off if it extends beyond those points. So you have this little box around your glyph shape, and you can adjust all of those in the settings for your particular font. But it's best to design inside the standards because a lot of software developers who built the engines that render text are lazy as hell and do not go and look to see if those values have been changed. So if you go outside the box too much, you will discover when you go to use some word processors that things will get chopped off and not displayed properly. There are some limits that you can set. If I go to move the stupid tools again, if I go to File, Font Info, and go to Font Dimensions, the caps height is set at 700 units. The X height that I was talking about is set at 500 units. And the rest of this basically does not matter for purposes of this discussion. If somebody wants to start building glyphs, those are the basic minimums. Make sure that you stay to the right of the zero vertically, above the zero, like 0 and above on zero left, right, and above the 0 vertically, under the caps height, which is a line that isn't showing here and should be somewhere in around here, and above the descender line, which is down here and again is not being shown. And I don't know why it's not being shown. I think it is shown on Zenati. Nope. My font software just said, screw you. We're not going to do that. I don't know why. View, glyph guides. Show coordinates. Hands, mask, node link, measurement, sticker zones. Nope, none of those things. You can lock stuff in this UI, but nothing that's useful. All the stuff that I do here, this particular software is a pain in the butt. Things aren't where you'd think they'd be. They aren't named what you'd think they'd be. And yes, I can go and read the documentation, but I'm comparing it to all the other stuff in all the other font software I've used. And this one is just weird, really weird. Particularly the fact that I have the font view here, and I have, for each of the fonts, and then I have the individual glyphs view like this. If I click on this and drag it about 3 millimeters or something like that, it will pop into a new window. And it takes time to figure out how to get it to go back. And stuff is moving all the time. My toolbar separated itself from the main interface a while ago, and I haven't figured out how to join it again. It's not obvious. And the one thing you can do is you can lock stuff to be individual windows, but you can't lock it back in the interface. Drives me up the wall. Anyway, there was I don't have text-to-speech here, and I don't have any noise or anything because YouTube is primitive. What do you mean a Google Drive or something so people can use your fonts? I have. Do I have it here? Of course I don't. And that's another thing that's curious about YouTube's chat. I can't just type in chat. I can probably type it on my phone, but I can't do it there. I don't have a button made up for this. Which is very remiss of me. We'll see if this shows up properly. I will fix that for next stream. Does that show up? Lag between my phone and the interface here, but hopefully it'll show up. If you go to National Logographics on Patreon, so https://www.patreon.com/National Logographics, which is what I should have typed in there. Then that's my Patreon page. You can support me for $1.50 a month if you want and get access to everything. But there's a bunch of fonts you can download with and download and play with that aren't behind the paywall. I gotta have a button made up for that. Just let me digress because it should be on my system here, and it is not, and there is no reason not to have it there. If there is a way to enter it. I don't know that there. That's curious. What do I put into, maybe under OBS Studio? No. Weird. One of the things YouTube is missing is a plugin on the Stream Deck, it looks like. Stream Deck. That will just let me enter some text in chat. Yeah. Can't do it. I'll have to make up a screen with some graphics on it and make sure I include that. But it doesn't look like I can just send text to chat. Well, maybe we can. Let's see what this does. Provided I can type, of course. But I don't know that this is going to go anywhere. So if I hit that, does it do anything? I don't think it does. No. Curiouser and curiouser. Okay, so this is very primitive. YouTube needs to do some work, or I need a better interface. Maybe there's a better way to display YouTube chat. I guess I could have a browser window open with it there. Bring that up. Come here. Go to, is there no live? No live? Home. YouTube Studio. Don't think I'm showing anything that it matters to anybody. No. Content. Nope. No interface for live there either, eh? That's a little odd. I will fix this for the next stream. I don't know why it's not showing it. Do we have a link in here? We do not. Nope. Nope, nada. Sorry about that. Anyway, go to Patreon, search for National Neographics, like National Geographics, but playing on the words. And you should be able to find my page. I have a very single tier, very low sponsorship rate. I have Patreons that I really appreciate, and you're welcome to join them if you want to. There are a fair number of fonts you can download and play with. You will need to turn ligatures on for each of them. So in OpenOffice or LibreOffice or actually even in Microsoft's basic text editor there, you should have support. But if you're in Microsoft Word, you have to dig into the menus to figure out how to turn ligatures on. And I think in MS Word, you have to do it every single time you create a document. You can't just say, hey, turn ligatures on and remember the setting. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've used Word. Oh, many people have tried to do that. And the problem is, if you want a fast way to do that, really want a fast way to do that, go learn shorthand. Greg or Pittman. My mother was fantastic at doing both of those because she spent years as a secretary, and she could write stuff in I think she used Pittman more than Greg, in either of them at the speed of somebody talking without any problem at all. But the problem with English, to write it faster, is that you need a spelling reform, because the things that make English irritating for writing it, I mean, if you're a speaker, you don't think about it. You learn to type, you type. That's fine. If you go to write it by hand, you write it by hand. But the writing system for English, using Latin glyphs, has all this ancient baggage in it that we really need to have a writing reform, but nobody can agree on a writing reform. So there's no reason why I should be typing light, L-I-G-H-T. The G-H is silent. It's pointless. It doesn't need to be there. The I isn't always pronounced I. Really, light should probably be spelt L-A-I-T or something like that. But the fact that English has so many dialects where I say light with a very short vowel for I, because I'm Canadian and we have a thing called Canadian Rising that means that certain vowel combinations in Canadian English are very compressed. If I was, and forgive the terrible attempts, if I was from the southern U.S., it would probably come out more like lat, right? Where the A is extended before it hits the I as a diphthong, and the whole thing takes a little longer to say. Well, you might not want to try and write those both the same way. In a Scots accent, it's going to sound different in Irish, in London English versus Northumbrian English. We have a huge variety of dialects, and the current spelling system that we have for words is a standard for that reason, because in Scotland it might come out as licht, where the GH actually is pronounced, kind of. And in Liverpool it's going to be nasals, and in southern England it's going to be lot, with no T there at all. They use a glottal stop instead. So writing a script for writing English is problematic, probably more effort than it's worth. I like creating writing systems for constructed languages, but then I can control what the phonology is and everything else. Let us open recent fonts. My flagship font is Ashwadi here. Preview. Ashwadi is for a constructed language. It started off being based on the shapes of Kufic Arabic, because I really like the way Arabic looks when it's written, and I really like Kufic Arabic. And then I migrated it away from looking like Arabic because it was too close. And then after that, it changed quite a bit. I'm sure it no longer looks quite the same way to somebody who can read Arabic. I have heard of Alien Script, yes. So here is Ashwadi. Oh, not compiled. Just a sec. Features. Compile. Preview. There. So this one clusters syllables together again, too. So that's the S, SH, because it has a dot below it. Without the dot there, it's an S, joined to a U. So Ashu-Adi. I have heard of Alien Script. I don't remember it offhand, but I have heard of it. I get lost in all the different keeping track of all the conlang stuff, because there's so many people out there doing it. I don't know what my phone is doing there. Okay, I think that I'm actually going to call this done. I've shown off a bunch of my stuff here. I have basically made the first changes that I want to make to Zenati, which I should remember to save. And I don't know what else I need to do here until I get more feedback. I can't seem to find any written examples of Shawiya or Shenhua or any of the other Zenati languages in Latin, so I can try typing them out to see how they look. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Of course, that preview on screen here is now saying Ashwadi. And it should say Tira Tiznatit, which is the Zenati languages in Zenati. Since there's a few people that came here after all of that, Actual Kevin and S. Grant and Peggy, if she's listening in, this is at the request of a speaker of Eastern Berber, this is a writing system I have created based off of ancient Libico Berber writing to let speakers of any of the, I think it's 5 different languages in the Zenati Berber language family, which is basically Berber speakers from Algeria and a few other areas to the east of Morocco. There's another group that's in Morocco, different languages that are related, to give them a way to write their language because they don't have one right now. Okay, this is blocky deliberately. Okay, this is made out of very simple shapes it's sort of a prototype. The person that suggested I make this is going to take this and send it to speakers of these various languages and say, here, try typing your language in and give me feedback. Yeah. It's deliberately squared and relatively simple and blocky and everything else like that. I wanted to deal with simple shapes to make sure they're distinct. I wanted to not put too many embellishments on it or try and make it look too stylized. I mean, it is stylized. I did make it blocky, even thicknesses and everything else like that. It wouldn't be how somebody would handwrite it. But it's deliberately that way until I get feedback. And I'm probably not going to get feedback for like another month or something like that, maybe longer, to see what people who speak these languages actually think of it. There's 9.2 million people out there who speak some one of the Zenati Berber languages who don't actually have a way to properly write their language that comes from their culture. So this will probably never amount to anything, but on the chance that it does, ain't that cool, right? If I could help those people come up with a way to write their language that suits their language and isn't adapted from either Europe or Western Berber, which has the Tifinagh writing system, but apparently Tifinagh does not cover Zenati properly. There's sounds that exist there in Eastern Berber that do not exist in Western Berber, and the writing system is just for Western Berber, and the people in the East generally tend to use Latin with dots above and below and everything else and other marks that they have to type in. And even that doesn't properly represent things. So I don't know if I've achieved that until I get feedback from people that speak the language. But this is probably, I will be able to come up with a handwritten version of this that would seem totally natural. And if it doesn't, then I would need to change the glyphs here so that the printed version reflects what people actually end up handwriting. I don't know if I can do that here. If I come into, I just pick a glyph at random. I'm not going to keep it, so it doesn't matter. If I go in here and grab brush, I could you're not seeing the right screen there. I can create shapes using the brush tool here that are like handwriting, right? And see what they look like. Back to brush. So that would be like a handwritten version of the first character showing here. Not that difficult to write, but some of them might be, in which case I need to change them perhaps. But we'll see. I got to get feedback from people first. The guy that I was talking to is in the UK. He said that he has people that he is going to send all this to. Oh, unnamed. Don't need that. Gone. Don't save. and I will get feedback on whether or not this works for people or not. Yeah, here's the handwritten one that I produced there. I could do that for all of this. I could come up with a handwritten script that is done with a brush like that and make a handwritten equivalent of all of these glyphs, and that will be something to do down the road. Sure. And then I can come up with a serif version and, you know, italicized or something like that, whatever I might want. But the initial version is just the basic blocky shapes to get feedback from people saying, no, you know, GH is too simple or too similar to D with a dot over it or something like that. And we get them confused all the time. Well, maybe I need to make a different glyph for it then. And I'll go back to the source material and find a different shape or do something to it that makes it different. But for now, this is it with just tiny tweaks needed to be made here or there, probably, to make it a final version. And then when I get the feedback, I'll make any other changes that need to be made, and then I will release an official version of the font, and people can go and you know, play with it if they happen to speak one of the Zenati Berber languages. But I'll make it available then. But it's not finalized right now, and everything could change. I could discover that I had some fundamental flaw in my understanding of the phonology. I went over all the entries on it that I could find, and I got some other source material and stuff like that, but there's lots that I probably don't know yet. So we're still waiting on that feedback. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward to making other versions of it, and I will post it up on the Patreon page there for people to download. And I'll provide some updates on the whole process and stuff like that. So, yeah. So if you're interested, follow me on Patreon. I will be posting more stuff there on all of this and updates when I hear back from the person in the UK. His name is Mehdi. And we'll take it from there. He apparently, I presume it's a he, I don't actually know, but is apparently planning a wedding right now, so they're a little distracted, and I understand that. But I'm looking forward to getting feedback. My problem is I get too focused on the thing that I'm doing, and I want to just go, and produce it, and it's done, and there we go. And the reality is it takes time to test things like this, I know. Mostly what I want to hear is whether or not people like it. I'm sitting too close to it. I like it. I think it looks distinctive. It doesn't look like any other writing system I've come across, and it should be relatively easy to learn. But other people's mileage may vary, and it may be really inconvenient to write, say, Shawiya in this writing system. Like I said, Tira Tiznatit here means the Zenati languages. Shawiya would be written. Oh, I have a thing to figure out. What is wrong with that? Oh, Shawiya. There. Okay, not a problem. That's one of the languages. There's Shawiya and Shenhua, and two that I won't even attempt to pronounce, and Rif, and something else. I can't remember. Represents, I tried to total it up vaguely based on Wikipedia entries. It's apparently a total of about 9.2 million people that don't have a proper writing system. So I'm all in favor of that. Did the same thing with Ndebe for Igbo, and now I can do it here. I tried to help with one called Afaka, but they didn't need the help, I guess. They never got back to me. And it's a thing I'm looking forward to doing more of if I get the chance. So anyway, I am going to end the stream. If you like this and you want to know when I'm on again, make sure you hit the subscribe on YouTube and the notification and all that stuff there. And I plan on doing more font-related stuff to do with conlanging or real languages, as in this case. But, I mean, this effectively might as well be a conscript. I plan to do more of that stuff in the future. And we will see you. I don't have an outro or anything fancy or anything like that built up. I got to do all that stuff. I will have a video up shortly on, I think it's 8 different font programs that you might use. Some of them are free, some of them are pay. And I just wanted to provide a sort of shotgun blast of software options that people could go and try out if they want to try making their own fonts for conscripts, conlangs, whatever, you know. And then I will make another short video on drawing glyphs, and then I plan on doing one on features, the ligatures and stuff like that there. That one will be more time-consuming to produce. The first one on the various font packages should be up shortly. It's going to be pretty short. It's just a really basic overview and includes my comments on the different font programs I've used and the one that I'm using right now, which is sort of the Bugatti Veyron of font software. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody who came by. Have a good day. We'll see you next time, I hope.